Okay, I've finished assigning resources to tasks. Now what I like to do in Project is I actually like to split the screen. In the top half of the screen I like to see the Gantt, and in the bottom half of the screen I often like to see a form. So what we do to achieve this is we click on the View tab in the ribbon, and what you have is a split view group. And if you tick the option Details, you'll split your screen in two. If you untick it, you'll remove the split. But I'm going to tick it again and bring up Details. When I click on a particular task like Set up equipment, so let's just click on row 34, I can see all the resources that are working on this particular task and the units or the percentage of their time that they're contributing. What I often like to do is I like to right click this particular blank area here and I'll change it to work. When I change it to work, what I can see are the hours that each resource is contributing to this setup equipment task, which is taking 2.5 days, starting on this date, finishing on this date, and is currently still fixed duration. If I right click this blank area again, I can switch it to any one of these views. Sometimes it's nice to see notes in the bottom half of the screen if you've got large notes. But I'm going to right click and I'm going to bring up cost. What I then see is how much it's costing me for the bartenders, for example, to work on this particular task. Now the bartenders were contributing 5 hours, and this particular task for me starts on the 3rd of December. And way back in the earlier stages, the bartenders were earning $15 an hour. But because this task starts after the 1st of the 12th, and as of the 1st of the 12th I increased their rate, they've gone to $18 an hour. So $18 an hour at 5 hours isn't costing me $90 as of the 1st of the 12th. If I was to right click and change this view in the bottom half of my screen back to work, I can see the 5 hours here that the bartenders are doing. If in fact the bartenders were doing 2 hours overtime, I would simply put in 2 hours and click OK. And now the bartenders are doing 2 hours. Now where the misconception happens in Project is whenever you see the word work, always equate it to total work. So what's happening here, the bartenders are doing a total of 5 hours, of which 2 of them are overtime and 3 of them will be standard. So if I then right click this blank part of my screen and I switch back to cost, I expect a cost increase. And I have a cost increase from $90 to $118. And that is because of the 5 hours. Now 3 hours are standard out of those 5 at $18, and 2 hours are overtime, which is $32 after the 1st of the 12th. So 3 hours at $18 and 2 hours at $32 cost me $118 after the 1st of the 12th. If I was to right click and switch back to work, I could get rid of the overtime, put it back to 0 and OK, and then I go back to 5 hours at $18 an hour, which gives me 90, and I can check that by right clicking and switching back to cost. And now I'm back to $90 for those 5 hours at $18. So the main thing is when you want to assign overtime, right click and bring up work, enter your overtime rate in the overtime work column. But be aware that overtime is a proportion of the total work, and work always means total.